Hey everyone. Today I want to cover a very important topic, in fact, a key playbook for you as leaders, which is clarifying roles within the project. Let me start with a quiz. What is the number one reason that slows down a project? Well, based on all my experience, the number one aspect, there could be many reasons, but the number one reason is lack of clarity on who's responsible for driving and making decisions. Oftentimes, when multiple folks are involved in a project, people are not clear on what their roles are, what they should be doing, what is expected. This is where this playbook essentially comes in. So, in this session, I'm going to talk about concrete models that you need to apply to clarify roles of individuals within the project. So, every project in like every new project or any project that you're starting, always clarify the roles. There are different models for it. DACI is my favorite. So what does DACI stand for? DACI is driver, approver, contributor, informed. So there are four kinds of roles in a project. Everyone attending that project meeting or the kickoff or being a part of this project needs to be very clearly defined as who's the driver, who's the approver, who is the contributor, and who is the informed, right? Driver ideally should be one person responsible for really moving the project, corralling stakeholders, necessary information collected, making a decision, getting everyone together, keep the project moving, and really make sure that the project is meeting its deliverables. Approver could be one or more people who are responsible to make the decision. So the driver will bring in the proposals, put all the details together, and eventually have an approver. Now, a driver and an approver need not be different people. They can be the same person as well, depending upon the project. Contributors, that's straightforward. These are people who are essentially providing knowledge and expertise to make the decision or to make the project happen. And informed are people who need to know, like, if there's a new feature coming out, someone in sales, someone in marketing, they need to know about it. They don't necessarily want to collaborate or be involved in anything deeper than just being informed. Now, DAISY is my favorite. Just to give you a sense, there are other models out there as well. Rapid is another one, again, a variant of it, which is recommend, decide, perform, input, agree. So you divide people into either they are part of recommend, they are part of providing input, providing agreement, deciding, and actually performing the task. Another very popular one, just in this flow of models, is RACI. Sounds a lot like DAISY. There are some subtle differences. So in RACI, you have responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, right? Again, very similar to DAISY. Responsible, again, has similar responsibilities. Accountable is the person who makes the final decision, ultimate ownership, right? Consulted are collaborators, and I informed being the same. Irrespective, this is an absolute starting point. Everyone in the project should be very clear what role they are playing. And this should actually be also put together for visibility. So a great example here essentially is in the RACI model, right? As you can see, there are different projects or activities that need to happen: testing, review and analysis, scheduling, test strategy. And as you can see, for different individuals, they're listed as either an R or an A or a C or an I. And there are a couple of things to look for here. First off, there cannot be too many, for no R's or too many R's, right? That's what you need to look for any given project. You need to have someone who's responsible. and you cannot have everyone being responsible. Otherwise, there's really no accountability. Similarly, when it comes to A is the approver or who is accountable to finally make the decision. Again, A has to be present, and the more A's, the more difficult it is to come to a conclusion. And again, you're really looking for lots of C's and I's. Unnecessary collaborators and unnecessary informed can just slow down the project. Now, this decision-making framework that we have talked about, it only works if there is alignment. We can decide all day long. Actually, one more example before I go there. Similar example of applying Razi or DACI within the Unravel context, right? We have, or we can think of consistent patterns over here. So for instance, for vertical features that are within a pillar, right? The driver is the pillar lead, the approver is the chief architect, and the pillars really just drive it through. For horizontal features that are across pillars, having a very clear pattern defined, that features which are cross-cutting, the driver is the product management leader, right? And working closely with the collaborators, which is a subset of the pillar leads and their teams that need to be in the kitchen, right? So this is another example where being very clear as to who's doing what, and also setting patterns when it comes to how the work is going to get divided based on the kinds of tasks. So going back to the point I was trying to make, irrespective of what model is applied, the key is how do we get alignment? Decision-making requires alignment. And where this model breaks apart is that if people don't agree with the final decisions that are being made, the group does not rally around it. They do not share their concerns and trust. I may be a collaborator, I may not be sharing, and I may just go in circular debates, or I may start pursuing options on the side, assuming that, hey, this is going to fail, let me just do things on the side, right? The key is everyone needs to be fully committed. So none of this will work. The roles definition won't really work if the fundamentals of alignment are not clear, which is people have to be very clear that whoever is driving, who is approving, as they make a decision, everyone else has to rally themselves and make it happen, depending upon in terms of whatever the outcome is being sorted out for. Now, how do you create alignment? There's no magic bullet around it. I want to give you 3 concrete strategies to create alignment. The 3 strategies here are, first, really understanding the criticality of the decision. They're called one-way doors and two-way doors. Second, disagree and commit model. And third is escalation. So I'll just walk through each of these very quickly. One-way and two-way doors, very intuitive. The key point here is that one-way doors cannot be easily reversed. That is the point. So they have to be taken carefully. Whereas if there is a decision which is going through a lot of debate, but it turns out that it's a trivial thing. We can change the interface easily. We can change the API later. We can make modifications which are non-trivial. This is where you go into two-way doors. It can be reversed. It's easier to just try it out rather than spending endless time in discussions. And there are some very interesting points here, like Jeff Bezos from Amazon. He has this great point. In fact, they use this very extensively, that one size fits all decision making is the killer. That is, we spend a lot of time on decision irrespective of whether they're one-way doors or two-way doors. So making it very clear the moment there's an alignment thing, we're a one-way door or a two-way door, right? Other thing also is that even if it's a one-way door, something which cannot be easily reversed, look for ways to convert it into a two-way door. And a great example is Richard Branson from the Virgin Atlantic effort that was being launched, where Richard had this point, which is that they were launching this airlines, they did not know whether it will work or not. So he cut a deal with Boeing that within a year the planes could be taken back, right? So one-way door decision was like very, very tough. But by cutting this kind of a structure, you make it two-way door. So always be creative in sort of aligning based on the criticality of the decision. That's a huge, I would say, skill that will help significantly. The second one essentially is a protocol which needs to be very clear with the team, which is called disagree and commit. In fact, Andy Grove, in his book High Output Management, wrote about this, where disagree and commit is one of the most powerful techniques. And there are two parts to it. One, expecting and demanding everyone to voice their disagreements. So it should not be that nobody is heard. Pool in the information, get everyone to talk. But second, no matter what the point of view, once a decision is made, everyone commits to it, right? So that's the disagree and commit. It something that needs to be clarified with the team, that we'll go and discuss. We want to hear from all of you, but ultimately the decision needs to be made, whether you agree or not. We all work towards it. Similar thing, again, Amazon uses disagree and commit quite extensively. In fact, in the shareholder letter in 2016, this is what Bezos wrote: leaders are obligated to respectively time decisions when they disagree, even when doing so is uncomfortable or exhausting. Leaders have conviction and are tenacious. They do not compromise for the sake of social cohesion. Once a decision is determined, they commit wholly. That's the key. So disagree and commit is another very important piece which needs to be clarified to the team. And the last piece to get alignment is escalation. Now, escalation typically has a negative connotation, right? Escalations are seen bad. Actually, it is a tool. It is a tool to resolve issues quickly. And the way to think about it is, assume good intent. Let's say you and your peer are not agreeing. You have discussed, you have put in the options, but unable to still resolve on, let's say, priorities. You have different priorities, right? This is where you'll escalate to the supervisor, right? And the idea here is assuming good intent from the parties involved. And it's simply a way to ensure that you're optimizing globally. That is by bubbling it up, right? You get the bigger perspective as well, right? In terms of absolute priorities or absolute directions and whatnot. And definitely cannot be used as a weapon in terms of for every disagreement simply escalating to the manager or the supervisor. That will pretty much lose its power. So the way the steps are involved in the escalation, first, it's basically between the parties and the peers, acknowledge and align on the problem, right? What are we trying to solve? Second, clarify the options A, B, C, understand the trade-offs. For A, these are the pros, cons, so on and so forth. And finally, escalate clean. That is, if the alignment does not happen within 48 hours, within 2 days, you need to escalate. So this is the key. Speed of decision making is a function of how quickly we can get things resolved. If we perpetually go in a limbo, just discussing and not being able to conclude, the whole process is useless. So there you have it. I want to sort of end with a summary, which is firstly, any project, clarify the roles. DACI is my favorite. You can select other options that we talked about as well. Focus most of energy on one-way door decisions. So alignment will always be interesting. Identify what is one way, what is two-way, and really focus your energy on one-way doors, either making them two-way or making sure everyone is aligned. And finally, resolving conflicts. There's alignment conflicts in a timely fashion, being very clear with disagree and commit if it is within the team, if it is across teams, across peers, using the escalation model effectively. Like to leave on the note that leaders need to really destigmatize escalations. Like escalations, are actually a tool because everyone has different priorities. You bump into these. There is no way to predict delays and drive to uncertainty. So really helps unblock teams, decision-making conflicts, and whatever issues that may arise. And in fact, something that can be used very effectively, something that has been tremendously valuable in all my past experience. That was it for this session. I want to end with an assignment. So as you apply the skills here for decision-making as well as getting alignment, one of the things I want you to explore is how do you balance inclusiveness while ensuring there's a right pace of decision-making? The Razi or DACI can get pretty big, lots of people involved, and more people, more opinions, things may be diverging. So would be a good exercise to think about, where do you draw the line? You want to hear inputs, you want to be inclusive. At the same time, you have timelines and goals to meet. So it would be great if you can reflect on this and share your thinking when we meet up. Thanks, everyone.